Episode 3, The Sons of Kuru, the birth of Pandu, Dhritarashtra, and Vidura. After Bhishma's terrible vow, the throne of Hastinapura stood strong, but empty. He had given up marriage, and with him, the line of kings seemed to wither. King Shantanu grew old, and when he left this world, it was Bhishma who stood like a pillar, guarding a kingdom with no heir. The people whispered, the ministers waited, and the throne grew colder with time, but there was one who still held hope. Satyavati, the queen. She had once been promised her son would inherit the throne, yet Bhishma's vow stood like an unmovable mountain. Years passed, and her son, Vichitravirya, ascended, but fate had little mercy. He ruled for but a short time. No sons, no legacy. Hastinapura was once again a tree with no fruit, and so she came to me. Yes, to me. For I was her son too, born of a moment, of destiny, of purpose. I had gone to the forest far from the court, but when she called, I returned. Not as a king, nor as a warrior, but as a threadbinder, a restorer of broken lines. The ancient ways were still known to some. When a line was broken, a learned sage could be called upon to beget sons, not as a father, but as a restorer of Dharma. This was called Niyoga. Satyavati, desperate to save the dynasty, asked me to perform this duty, and I agreed. 2 queens remained, Ambika and Ambalika. Noble, frightened, and bound by fate, I visited them in turn, but they could not bear my presence. One closed her eyes in fear, and thus was born Dhritarashtra, strong but blind. The other turned pale with shock, and thus came Pandu, pale of skin but mighty in prowess. A third child was born too, not of a queen, but a maid. She did not fear me. She met me with calmness and clarity, and so she bore Vidura, wise among men. These were the sons of Kuru's hope, one blind yet destined to rule, one cursed yet meant to father heroes, and one denied the throne yet holding the light of Dharma in his heart. 3 brothers, each unlike the other, each holding a piece of Hastinapura's fate. When the time came, the question arose, who shall wear the crown? Dhritarashtra, though eldest, was blind. The ministers feared a blind king might doom the realm, so the crown passed to Pandu, not out of love, not out of fairness, but out of fear, and Dhritarashtra, he accepted it. Outwardly, but inside a storm had begun, a storm that would one day become the war of Kurukshetra. Pandu would go on to conquer kingdoms. Dhritarashtra would sit in silent rage, and Vidura, he would become the voice of wisdom, ignored by most, but remembered by time. Thus was sown the seed of jealousy, of resentment, of destiny twisted by birth, and the wheel began to turn. And so the house of Kuru was no longer whole, it was splintered. 3 brothers, 3 truths, and 3 paths that would one day collide on the battlefield of Dharma and destruction. Next episode, the birth of the Kauravas and the curse of Gandhari.